Hello, my name is Ben Decker. In this video, I'm going to introduce some of the Revit basics regarding file management and opening Revit models. This video is geared towards those who haven't used or are new to Revit. For those who don't know, Revit is Autodesk's BIM modeling software. Within Revit, you're able to model any of the building systems such as HVAC, plumbing, electrical, structural, or architectural. So the first step is opening a Revit model. This may seem trivial, but Revit is unlike a lot of other software. Whatever year of Revit that the project was created or last saved in is the only version of Revit that it'll open with. So most firms will put the year of Revit within the naming scheme. So we use R19 for Revit 2019. So that's what version of Revit I want to open it in. So first step is to open up Revit 2019. You don't want to double click on the file to open it. If you do that, your computer doesn't know which version of Revit to open. So you might have 2017, the default. So if you double click, it'll try to open it in 2017 and it won't work. So first step is to open up Revit 2019. Looks like this. Models, go to open. Make your way to where the model is saved and click once, only once on the model. Down here, you have two options. You have create new local, which is checked by default, and detach from central. So what do these mean? Well, with Revit, you can have multiple users working in the model at the same time. The way that Revit does this is it has a central model, which is hosted on a shared network. And when you open up the central model, when you have this box checked, it creates a new local version on your machine and it links it to the central model so they talk to one another. So if you move a pipe, it tells the central model, hey, I moved this pipe, so don't let anyone else move it. And that's how Revit is able to work without having issues. This detach from central box, if you don't want your new local version to be linked to the central model, you click this. So basically, if you want to make changes in the model and you want to save it, make sure that this box here is checked. If you want to go into the Revit model to maybe just look, but you don't want to make any changes by accident, you want to check the detach from central. If you're using the wrong version of Revit, so if you tried to open this in Revit 2018, this would be grayed out. You wouldn't even have this option. The other way that this is grayed out is if the central model is busy or corrupt. So if someone is synchronizing or saving at the very same time that I tried to open this, if I click on it, it won't let me create a new local because it has to talk to the central model so the central model knows that you're creating a new local file. If I try to open this in Revit 2020, it would give me this option, or actually this would be grayed out, but it would upgrade the model. And once you upgrade a model, you can't go backwards. So I could upgrade this in 2020, but I couldn't bring it back to the Revit 2018 version. So that's something else to note. So here I would click open and it would create a new local file and that would be linked to the central model. So with opening, the other part is saving, and in Revit it's called synchronizing. So you can save your local file, and that's kept on your machine. And then there's also synchronize, which pushes the changes that you've made to the central model so others can see what you've done. So say I have this pipe and I want to move it. So I grab the pipe, move it this way. Now it's off the screen. So I move it that way. now, since I moved this pipe, I've owned or borrowed this element. So now if someone else tries to go into their uh, their model and move this pipe, let's say they wanted to move it up instead, uh, the central model would say that I've owned this element, so they wouldn't be able to move it. So let's say I've moved this pipe and I've done all my changes, or it's been a while, and I want to make sure that I push all my changes to the central model. You go up here to the synchronize button up here. You have synchronize and modify settings or synchronize now. I usually like to go synchronize and modify settings so I can see what I'm doing. And here, after synchronizing, relinquish the following work sets and elements. So basically, after you synchronize, you give up your ownership to these elements. So borrowed elements, that's this pipe, it's checked, so that's good. If you create a work set, and I'll talk about work sets in a different video, the first time you'll have this option to check this box, but it's not checked by default. So you always want to make sure that this button here, if it's available, that it's checked. So that way, if you synchronize and close out, and someone else wants to come in and move an element, sometimes you get locked out because that person didn't relinquish those elements. So make sure this is checked. Save local file. Yep. Click OK. And it'll push these changes up to the central model. So when someone else creates a new local, they can see that this pipe is now in a different location. So just to show that I gave up ownership, I'll go back to synchronize, and there's no option here for borrowed elements, so I don't have anything to relinquish. So that's the basics of how the Revit file management works and how to open and synchronize a Revit model. So I'll be talking more about some more Revit basics using work sets and filters and different visibility graphic things in upcoming videos. So if you like this video, if you want to learn more, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.